In this video, we are going to go over how to create a banner for Facebook using Photoshop Elements. First, we want to make sure that we have all our files that we're going to use for the banner in a specific folder so that they're easy to find as we're building this. It's easier if we open all the files in Photoshop to make them easily accessible. Next, we want to go onto Google and just find out the dimensions of the banner that we're going to use. Now we want to create the new file by going to the File menu, New, Blank File, and then enter the pixels that we just got from Google. Now we want to start importing our content onto our main image. So we're going to go into the different tabs, select the Marquee Tool, wrap around the selection, Control-C for copy, and then we're going to paste it into our main image. Control-T will allow us to adjust, and then the filter gallery, under filter gallery, will allow us to select the different effects that we want to apply to that one layer. In this case, we're just going to go with just a fuzzy one so that we can make it a little transparent. We created a new layer here just to have a background that represents the actual deca colors that I just got from the website. Now we're just duplicating the same steps again. We want to have that big I am Deca slogan in this case. That's the slogan that they're using. And again, we can go into the filter gallery, play around with it, and just give it that little bit of a grungy look that we're going after. Now we're going to use their logo and duplicate it a few times by right-clicking on the layer and clicking Duplicate Layer. So we're going to do that a few times. And paste them in the right spots. Merge all the layers together by selecting all of them and clicking on Merge Layers. Now we're duplicating the layer again and again, and now we're going to go ahead and merge all of them once they're moved into the right spot. Move it again, and then we're going to choose the layer and change the transparency to make it a little bit lighter. We're also going to use the filter gallery to change it around a little bit. Now we have a background. We can maybe use Control-T again to rotate, add that grungy effect that we had, and rotate it a little bit and probably make it a little more transparent. Our goal for the image is going to be to adjust it first of all by going to Enhance, Adjust Lighting, and then Levels, to play with the different levels, and the best way to do this is just to experiment with these three dots until we find the lighting that we like. And then we want to cut off or cut out the background so that we can only have the people and copy them onto the banner. So we're going to do that using the Magic Eraser tool for the most part, and then I'll show you how to do it with the Marquee tool. So we're going to click on that eraser, use a couple of different ones just to play around and experiment with the brushes too, the brush size, to delete the parts that we know that we don't want, and then we'll start fine-tuning it a little bit. So the Magic Eraser is a really cool tool because it tries to be content aware and just remove certain areas, as you can see. On the back here are actually not going to be too bad for this image. I think they'll just add to that grungy look we're going after. So you'll just keep clicking in different areas, let Photoshop find out what it is. Just make sure that every time you click it and it maybe goes into the hair or goes into the skin of the people, we just undo and restart again. Experiment a little bit with the tolerance, just add and remove, and just make sure so the tolerance bar is at the bottom there, if you can see it. How much to be tolerant and how much of that image to delete. To be sensitive, not sensitive. So you'll just keep clicking. Have fun with that. It could take a little bit of time, but keep clicking until you have as much of the background deleted as you want it to delete. Found that you need to be a little bit more precise. It might be a good idea to use Command plus or Control plus to zoom in a little bit onto the image. That way you can get a little bit closer and get these areas that are right around the bodies or the skins or the faces to to just make sure that we're taking off as much as possible. When we find that we need to get a little bit closer, it might be a good idea to use that Marquee Tool, as you can see by clicking on the Marquee Tool and then just creating that selection and hitting delete on the keyboard. If you zoom in, that might be a better way to just get these nice areas. And as you can see, I'm just bouncing back and forth between the different tools. The magic eraser is still nice for quickness, but the Marquee Tool might be a little bit more accurate. Now you can use a different Marquee Tool. This one will create straight lines, so you just have to click and pull a little bit. And the best way to you do it is just to experiment with it. So you can just keep clicking as you go around along the face, as you can see, and then once you find the selection, you just create a circle and hit delete on your keyboard. There's also the magnetic Marquee Tool, which is also pretty cool because it'll, that way you're just moving your mouse and it'll just attach to where it thinks it should, and it usually guesses pretty well. Or you can just use the freehand one and just create your own little circles and create your own areas that you want to delete, as you can see. You can go ahead and create all the big areas. Now we're just copying it and pasting it just like we did any other layer. We're going to hit Control T or Command T on our keyboard to make these adjustments, and here they are. First thing we're going to do is we're going to get Morgan closer to the team, so we're just going to use the Marquee Tool to select around her, cut her out, paste her on her own layer, and move her to the right spot. Can't remember how tall she was. We'll make her a little bit taller. And then we will go ahead and select both layers. Actually, we'll probably go ahead and merge them at some point. So we want to make sure that we have the right tool selected. We're going to select both layers and move them around a little bit to leave room for the Facebook icon. Then we're going to go to the layers by going to layers and then layer style, layer properties. And we're going to play with a drop shadow. So as you can see by clicking on the drop shadow, we can change a couple of different things like the distance and we can even change the color. We really can do whatever we want. So just experiment with those. Nice thing about it is you can see live, what the effects are. We're also going to go ahead and play with the glow. So you can do an inner or an outer glow. As you can see, this just made a little bit of an outline around them. But you can go ahead and change the color of that glow to make them pop out a little bit from the image. Okay, now that we have the image the way we want, we're going to go ahead and experiment with shapes a little bit. We're just going to add a bar across the bottom. So we're going to click on the rectangle tool, make sure that it's selected on that rectangle shape. And then we're going to create that rectangle again. We'll go ahead and go to the layer. We have to simplify the layer first and then go into the layer styles. Create the drop shadow and the glow. Make it pop out as well. And then once we're done, we probably want to give it a little bit of transparency. Maybe not that much. And then we're going to go ahead and copy the Salt Lake Community College logo, resize it, and then bring it to the right spot. And now the DECA logo will be with the icon of Facebook, and then the Salt Lake Community College will be actually part of the timeline image. So now we're going to save it. First thing we're going to do is save as, so that we have all the layers, and we'll just save it as a PSD or Photoshop document. saving it as a Photoshop document will maintain all the layers for us, so we can go back and edit the transparency or change any of the layers around. I'm going to go ahead and save it to my desktop right now. Now we can go and hit File and Save for the web to save it as a GIF or a JPEG or a PNG. This will get us the smallest file size, but still allow us to maintain a pretty decent quality. So we're going to go ahead even at 100% on the JPEG and notice that the size is still very, very acceptable. And hit save it to our desktop, and there we have it. Now we can just upload it to Facebook.